Yeah, and what is going to be picked up in the draft as well, because already these compositions have been different and yet similar at the same time. The Galio gets through the first time, and KT capitalized on that with their Kog'Maw. Game number 2, it was Kog'Maw once again, but it was utilizing a little bit more of a disengaged style with that of the Gragas, and Jin just playing straight up League of Legends. First time not necessarily working with the Lucian in the mid lane, but more carries available in game number 2 with the Yasuo, Corki, Kalista. It worked beautifully well, and Corki not going to be seen again. Jin once again banned on the blue side. And last time around, it was Corki, Gragas, and Rek'Sai, the luxury blue side bans.
But the red side bans are the interesting ones to me. KT banned away Caitlyn, Zac, that part's normal, but then they banned Rakan. In this scenario, do you just ban the Kalista and leave Rakan open for Snowflower if you're just going to repeat your bans? The question I will raise for the side of KT Rolster is their Thresh was defeated, you'll remember, in the previous game.
Yeah.
Marta's big pick historically and also in the summer season. So the blue side bans already going to be interesting to track as the Thresh has been plugged in. Now one of only Gragas and Rek'Sai can be banned on blue side.
Now it's looking like things like Rakan, things like Braum moving up in that priority list for KT. Jin might be looking to try and lock away one of those supports early on here. The Elise is going to be banned away by Jin, and now KT need to find that Kalista button if they want to make things the same.
So this is going to be Kalista. If it's banned, traded for Rek'Sai. So what do KT actually prioritize? I don't know if you will first pick Rakan over Rek'Sai, but Rakan was their ban this spot. So they're giving Jin the option, you would imagine, of one or the other. Now, Gragas may just be KT's preference because Score is a wonderful Gragas player. But this is really interesting. To me, Kalista is the big difference, but Galio being open too is interesting to track. It has been a pick that Jin have played, but the possible answer from KT could be severe.
And it could be really interesting if Jin lock this one away and then they're happy for KT to pick up the Kalista, and then they could opt in for the Heroic Entrance plus Kog'Maw combination, which did look so much more successful in game number 1 for KT, and I don't think the Kalista could help bring that one over the line.
How high is KT's Kalista priority? Because there's a lot of different schools of thought in how you approach the draft on red side. Rek'Sai, to me, is a must take away from Umti, who not dying in the earlier fights, and in general, his comfort on the Rek'Sai. It's good deny on it. It seems like the premium on Kalista is not just Rakan, or a function of the Rakan. It is just Kalista being respected in the LCK. So they do go for the most predictable draft, take away Kalista and Rakan on red side.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It means that Teddy's not going to be able to have that phenomenal performance that he had in game number 2. Really led them to the victory in the end. And Umti as well is going to have to change up his playstyle. So it could be back to the Lee Sin, but it could be the Gragas for them as well. As Kog'Maw makes a heck of a lot of sense. You could pair it with the Braum as well. I mean, Winter's Bite plus Bioarcane Barrage is a fantastic combination for locking people down.
They'll give themselves a bit more time to think about the Braum. It feels like they are going to be running a Kog'Maw comp very similar to what KT put together in game 1. And, well, anything KT can do, Jin can do better is the general approach to the first part of this draft.
Well, it's beautifully orchestrated thus far from Jin. Like the combination, Braum was fantastic into KT last time around. Snowflower had a really good game. Now Pawn throws in the Taliyah. Okay.
Intriguing to see the Taliyah into Galio. Does have a global to match the, or semi-global, you should say, to match the hero's entrance. But definitely not going to be doing any damage to Galio as the game goes on. And honestly, in team fights, this is KT going back to their old playbook of wanting to play early to mid-game, given that Taliyah will not be able to push damage through a Unbreakable and also a Galio. So this is very much Pawn saying, I want to be proactive. I want to affect the side lanes, rather than necessarily pulling the game into late. Understandable after the last game.
Yeah, I actually quite like it as well. If you're going to be throwing out seismic shoves that could catch Teddy off guard, means that he's going to have to be well more aware of his positioning, because it's not like the projectiles can be now blocked by the Unbreakable anymore. It's not going to be front to back like that. You have to be careful. The ground shifting around underneath your feet.
This feels like the sort of game where Smeb will play Rumble. And the reason why I say that is that to get to the back line, you're going to need a Jarvan. And if you go Jarvan, I feel like Jin will be able to answer it pretty cleanly. So it's a sort of game where going for an early to mid-game power smite might be smarter than just drafting the strongest engage available after Alistar is banned, after more engage will be banned on the side of Jin Air. Focusing on the champion pool of Rek'Sai, Lee Sin, and Elise have been his big picks, so it might have to be something new from the side of Jin Air in terms of the jungle pool. As Bard is another interesting ban. When you protect a hyper carry, Tempered Fate for 2.5 seconds means the carry's doing no damage, and thus you win a fight around. So intriguing to see some different options banned, even if Bard doesn't have the most synergy with the Kalista, and maybe those focus on laning and go for the Kalista Zyra.
I like that. Of course, Marta now wanting to opt in for capitalizing on the melee support on the bottom side of the map and trying to just win their way through the Kog'Maw matchup. Because remember, KT sort of got a free path in the laning phase in game 2, and it was Deft really dominating that one with his added range. Oh god, is Solon going to do it?
Is Smeb
gonna do it? Gonna do it?
It could happen.
Oh, I need it to happen.
Oh my
jungle. God, okay.
OT's been playing this in solo queue. It is a pick in other regions. Of course, Unicorns of Love have been loving the jungle Warwick. Okay. We've got that happening here. That's the new variable. Smeb looks a bit dumbfounded after a second. He's looking for his Yasuo button.
I really hope he finds it. Camille is being considered to be taken into the Nara instead.
Another way to win the game, but
Rumble.
The Rumble was my first impression, and it will still be Rumble. The basic theory here is that KT want to do it early to mid-game. Access to the backline was almost impossible. Yasuo only really hit his stride 5 to 6 items, and I think at that point KT have already given up. They already lose the game because they don't have the ability to power through the super tanks, so they go Rumble, the original plan. He's able to, in the early to mid-game, equalizer where the Kog'Maw wants to fight, and then Kog'Maw can't just shrug off and do damage. Even with lifesteal, he won't be able to out-lifesteal the damage. So this is the original plan from KT. It does mean they self-counterpick them in top lane, though.
Whoa. Once again, Jeanette throwing a spanner in the works. As far as the LCK is concerned anyway, it's been a while since we've seen Warwick here. I, in fact, don't think I have ever commentated a game with the reworked Warwick in it.
I have neither. We just haven't had it in Korea.
Yeah.
Again, it's been since 420, the Weed Week patch that everyone loves to make fun of, since Warwick was a pick in Korea. And that is the only time, apart from one-offs, that it's ever been meta in Korea. So who has played a lot of Warwick in solo queue, it's why I was prepared to cast this in previous weeks. He was assaulted. And with all the assaults done to the champion pool, the Warwick was one of the few champions left up.
Well, of course, didn't go towards the Nidalee, something like that. There are a few other options that he could have gone towards, and it might have been that Jin Air were prepared with this Warwick pick just for the very end of the night. 11 p.m. KST is Warwick time. It's the howl at the full moon, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Let's do it. Let's get into game number 3. Jin Air versus KT. Okay, here we are. Game number 3. It all comes down to this, and the test is going to be with KT. Has their mental fortitude been redeemed after what has been some difficult times?
A lot of loyal fans here saying very late into the night. We had a 3-game first series. The second series starts late. We have the longest game of the summer season in Game 2, a super memorable one that if you missed it, please go back and watch the VOD. It is one of the most famous comebacks of all time. And now we get into Game 3. Jin Air fans are pumped. That was a late Jin Air chant. Yeah. They're feeling like this could be their time. But what would it mean for KT if they couldn't get it done again?
This is cheeky. He's hiding.
You're sleepy, aren't you, Atlas?
I'm not sleepy. I'm excited. Because you can barely see him. He's edging around the corner now.
It's a pretty standard situation where the Taliyah wants to stop the hard leash coming through. Warwick needs all the help he can get on his jungle clear.
Thankfully, Cruzan is equipped to do that, but Pawn will take away at least one of the little ones. Deny that level 2 unless he decides to take the big camp, so that is a good news story.
You notice that Smeb will be giving up the lane at level 1. You can just go back into Harpoon because you can no longer overheat at level 1 like you could in the past. So,
yep.
Does mean that he's just kind of admitting that he will lose lane in the top lane. It's a confirmation that the last time we had Warwick in the LCK was back in 2014 or the Season 4 meta, when for a couple seconds people like Benki were playing him when the on hits and the Devour really was abusing the Warwick level 6 power spike. Here we are, 3 years later,
and it's
Warwick's
a completely different pick. Oh, and we've got Pugmore on the bottom side of the map too, so... See, Teddy not exactly having as good a time in this lane as Def did in game number 2.
I mean,
that's going to make the difference.
They've gone super laning focus, right? Kalista, Zyra, double ranged. Lot of pressure, even on the Braum, able to chip him out, so won't be able to be full HP. So a lot to work with here in terms of lane pressure. Bot side, Rumble on the top side. It's going to be more about the wave clear and potential all-in if a gank does come through from Rek'Sai, and it's a very different jungle matchup here as Rek'Sai has a huge advantage in pathing early and all-ins.
Well, speaking of all-ins, the wallop damage doing work on Smeb. Goes down to about 100 health, but holds onto the scrap shield. Somehow survives.
Blood Scent was actually up onto Smeb, so Warwick has a vision of the Rumble. Turret dive's not that easy at level 3.
Yeah, the ward is going to spot him as well, so we'll have added knowledge of what's going on. Pawn has the shove in the mid lane, and now looking for Umpty. God, he looks crazed.
Yeah, he's hunting Pawn, who was the nearest enemy. This means he's going to get onto him pretty easily. Probably going to go an auto attack in, but didn't want to path into the complete unknown.
Yeah, not going to throw the Q in there either.
This is actually a problem here.
Oh,
really
wow,
nice.
Amazing seismic shove. There's the fierce score, gets the knock up though, and that's going to be first blood. Umpty just has to watch on in horror as his mid laner gets eaten up by the Rek'Sai.
A super good seismic shove coming through from Pawn. Had 2 great targets, but taking down the Galio was the most reliable one. Galio can teleport into lane, so won't lose a lot. But getting the extra gold onto a comp that desperately wants to snowball in the early game is very important for KT.
Yeah, it's very nicely done. Umpty relegated back to just clearing things out. So we'll do it healthfully at least.
We'll see if Umpty will be putting all his points into the Blood Hunt, but looks to be maxing W at present. I've kind of seen all the maxes. Q max, which used to be the core for Warwick, is not so much because the base damage increase is quite low. So you often see people mix between Primal Howl and Blood Hunt for their first max. In this case, the Blood Hunt does mean that he can gank stronger as he gets access to his attack speed and his ability to get movement speed more reliably on a shorter cooldown.
Yep. Roar. It's fun stuff. I want to see the jaws of the beast. That's what I want. That's my favorite one.
Face checking a Mega Gnar and a Warwick sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. It actually sounds just like a horror movie. May as well be watching one of those. I'm not a fan of horror movies, Pop Smithy. I get scared.
I take the try and make fun of it approach to lessen my fear.
Yeah, but you see, I still get... I do that too, but deep down I'm scared, you know? It's grasping roots. Not going to be able to find anything as Umpty once again trying his luck at a gank. Mata moves himself to a decent position as Deft is trying to dance around this one. Unbreakable is going to be there, and Deft, oh, very close. There's Smeb picking up the kill. That's the second one for KT. This feels like the beginning of the snowball, Papa Smithy. It's scary times for Jin Air. After their heroic win, we can't have a rollover type stomp.
They just seem to be too rushed around Umpty's ganks. Who knows how many scrims they've put into the Warwick, given how low on the totem pole he stands, even if it has been an Umpty pick in solo queue. Every time he's rushing in, people are over-prioritizing all in this case, Snowflower, Flash, Exhaust, all in. He didn't even have Blood Scent onto Mata at the time because he was too high HP. They turn around, and the teleport means they're happy to pick up the first kill there. So 2 turnaround kills on ganks initiated by the Warwick pre-6.
Yeah, and so on as well. I mean, he teleported at the same time, so I believe his may have been cancelled, so he'll have it back up. Still wasn't able to grab any notable lead. Yeah,
very, very soon, if not now.
Unbreakable should stop Def from being able to just stand there and auto it. But
meanwhile, Zyra.
Yeah, Mata just happy to take that one down. And now KT will just try and capitalize with another kill. Yeah, good flash gained out of Teddy, but Snowflower's not going to be as lucky. And Score's able to pick up that kill all too easily. 3 now to 0 And this gold lead is actually starting to get out of control, approaching 4,000 at 7 minutes.
And it's with the snowball comp, it's with the KT special. They've been denied their late game scaling. They were trying to play themselves into form, scrimming on the live stage, it felt like. But now they go to their standard. Their standard is strong. The Drake also works for them as an Infernal is the first spawn. Score was in exactly the spot he needed to be at the right time. As the turret fell, he was there for the dive, and they already knew there were no summoners onto Snowflower. Easy kill, and Umpty only now hits level 6, and I don't know if there's enough power in his lanes for him to even successfully gank.
Yeah, Scryer's Bloom actually spots out Umpty as well, so there was no way that he was going to steal away the Infernal Drake. Next one's going to be an Ocean, so KT probably not as excited about that, but this is a dream early start. KT Rolster squad. There's a lot of work ground. Pawn is really putting his time in to tilling these fields.
Item build for the Warwick hasn't changed. Tiamat Rush is strong because of his ability to apply on-hits with his Q and on-hits with his ultimate. The Titanic Hydra and Cinderhulk, I imagine, will be in the build. Don't necessarily have to rush the Titanic Hydra, but pretty much the expected clear.
Feeling a little bit like a Rek'Sai in the early stages, potentially.
Because he abuses on hits so much, you can't just rush the Barmy Cinder as comfortably. The Tiamat is pretty core.
Yeah. He's going to at least start this guy up. It's going to be Kuzan picking that one up for himself. Doesn't look like a contest available here from KT, but Soan's going to come down just in case. The bot lane has moved back up top. Smeb assumes position on the bottom side of the map. Now with the Rift Herald coming up very, very shortly, no dragon available, it does make sense that this is the priority place to be on Summoner's Rift.
Gotta be so careful here, Janair. One more failed play would say the Hero's Entrance or the Gnar engage. A couple more men go down, and you just feel like the early power spikes from KT would just allow them to take over the game. It's so long till Teddy comes online on the Cogmore. It's such a different task than what was there in previous games. They could end up matching scaling in the previous game because they pulled it out so late, but it's not going to be that sort of a game here. And KT breaking bot lane so early means that Warwick will lose camps because they won't have enough jungle control. There's matching globals from Pawn to match that of Kuzan. So much available to KT to answer what Jinair has drafted.
Thankfully, Umpty is even on levels with score at least. KT is still going aggressive, trading Bilgewater Cutlasses. Almost said Cutlie, but I don't think it's like cutlery or something like that. It's strange.
And Umpty is just walking on water ground everywhere. Nowhere he can go without being spotted. He's going for a lane gank, but was previously spotted. KT, predictably, lots of wards where they are.
Find Kuzan, but they still get a flash. Pawn able to lock that one down. Yeah, there's just so many wards.
It's insane how many wards are down this early.
Oh my god, there's the flash. Grasping Roots, but that's going to get enough. Oh, the ultimate is not going to be enough, but Mata just throws out the auto attack. That could have been a Thunderlords, I believe. May have helped gather that kill for the Zyra.
There are some teams that with a Rek'Sai, they need the Rek'Sai to help out their vision. In this case, it's perfect vision and a Rek'Sai. So Rek'Sai is only just an added bonus, the cherry on top. It's the regular engage that a Rek'Sai can provide.
Look at the control wards in the river on the top side.
This has all been prepared multiple seconds earlier. They just want a Rift Herald, and you know, when you invest that much into it, have the Rift Herald, KT.
Yeah,
you deserve it.
You earned it. Nice work, boys. Bought the right item. Snowflower's going to come over and spot Score doing it. Try and take down one of them, but I think that Mata's going to be pretty mad at him. And he's got double burst, so gonna want to let that one happen. Knock up onto Umpty, who doesn't have a lot of health. Thankfully does have that fear. Get out of the way.
Starting to alternate points, so 3 points into Blood Scent, then maybe maxing a different ability is the way that Umpty's going. The solo of the Rift Herald, that proved to be a little bit too difficult, but for now, they can return to it at any point. If they invest their AD carry onto it, they'll get it as well. Rift Herald well earned by KT Rolster, but Jinair just trying to slow the game down and forcing the Elder Dragon, sorry, the Rift Herald to be frequently contested and then backed off is a way to buy time, and that's why they do it again.
Yeah, well, Score's just going to hold on to it here. Can just tunnel his way out. Actually looking to try and start a fight, though. Weaver's Wall means that it's a bit of a Thunderdome to come in. Oh, my God, Smeb. That is stunning placement once again. The heroic entrance to basically a death party for Kuzan, who's going to get melted down. This could be close to an ace, but Sohan is nowhere in sight. He's like, nah, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to sacrifice myself for the cause this time around. And that is 4 for nothing. Marta might make it a bit more of an even trade as he's going to try and die to Harold, but Score is going to set himself up to take this one down, and KT now 8-0.
Send a postcard to the afterlife, Janair. That was the perfect setup for the equalizer. No one ever doubted Smeb's equalizers. Everyone there was burning. If they were playing a game, they lost a game. In that particular case, KT, crazy thing is, they're actually on course for the perfect game.
Yeah, they are. Terrifying. And heroic entrance, Papa Smithy. I mean, what do they say in all of those movies? A hero is just someone that wants to get himself killed or something like that. You hear that so often, and it felt like that was exactly what Kuzan was opting in for there.
I mean, the play here is just beautiful from KT. This time, Smep's already teleporting. This was coordinated in advance before. And look at the ultimate there. It's just ridiculous. They're all sitting on it for the entire duration. There's nothing they can do. Clean up Umti on the backside as well. Kuzan takes a while to die, but it's your Rolster. You know, they could have just given up the Rift Herald, Janair.
It would have been probably a good idea. And that was the first time we've seen the new Infinite Duress come out of Warwick in the LCK stage, and it was used to get over a Weaver's Wall, which is just flat out not what you want to be doing. You want to be jumping on people's faces, clawing their eyes out, stuff like that. What the big, scary, big bad wolf guy wants to do.
So we have heroic exit. Can we have infinite cowardice?
Infinite leaving. No, that doesn't work.
Come on, cowardice.
Infinite cowardice is pretty good.
It almost rhymes with duress, so I'll take it. I like having names for the exits.
Yep.
And it seems like Janair's going to have a grand exit from this particular game, unfortunately, with 6,000 gold lead. They can just keep trying to keep pressure on the map, but teleport up for Smeb, that's going to lead to a big lead. Rift Herald, that's just going to grow the lead for KT. Goodbye mid lane turret. You can't lose the minimum when every lane and the jungle are lost, Atlas.
Yep, that's a big old headbutt. Mr. Rift Herald, man, who's going to get a second one as well. Good damage on the inner turret. KT just looked to be able to do no wrong. And this has not been the case. It certainly wasn't the case against the Rocks Tigers before KT left for Rift Rivals. This is a KT that is now hungry after a loss as opposed to demoralized. And you can see Jinair setting themselves up to try and get anything they can wherever they can.
Here's what you should take away about KT if you're watching this series, because I think every KT series people are watching being like, is it over? Is it still there? Are they going to win Worlds? Are they going to even qualify for Worlds? I think KT are one of the most scrutinized lineups because they were the story of the offseason. Stack a roster with the biggest talent around the world. What I take away from this series is, let's remember a lot of the Telecom Wars series that KT lost. They would lose 2-1, they would win a game, and then they would keep going for the early game. The Talon Top was the biggest example of that, right? They would always find new ways to win early game. The reason why this series is interesting is because they focused on the late game, and then that worked once, didn't work the next time, and then they could go to the original playbook of the early game. So actually having multiple different strategies rather than finding the best way to dominate 0 to 15 minutes is something to actually note about KT Rolster, because to beat an SKT in a best of 5, it won't be the one performance, it'll be sustained performance with different identities. And KT have already shown they can do both in this series.
Yeah, and it means that they can now manipulate the draft as well, because a lot of what was being banned for was from that late game composition that KT was able to make work so effectively in game number 1. So it's now things like the tanks that need to be watched out for, but then KT certainly still have this in their playbook. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and it does make this team so much more frightening. But we always knew they had this potential as well, Poppy, you know, like, we were just waiting for the KT to come online as Def doing battle with Teddy, but actually taking a lot of damage. Living Artillery, last one is going to miss, so thankfully going to survive for the moment, but Score waiting to find his way in. Weaver's Wall is going to set this one up slightly. Yeah,
by the
nice,
Unbreakable. He's going to slow things down. Smeb can teleport. He's hanging back from the Gnar. He's already a level behind. So while we do feel like this is likely to be a KT victory, there is the experience lead for Gnar, and it's at least something to talk about on the side of Jin Air.
Yeah. Building towards a few items at once. Wants an old Frozen Mallet, I think. Maybe it's been a while since he's played Narp.
I reckon he wants an eventual Black Cleaver and Frozen Mallet.
Yeah.
That's the most likely takeaway there.
It was a funny story for a little moment there for me, though. So I was just
Stay with me, Atlas.
I'm barely with you, mate. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, dear. It's not my fault.
No, it's not. Well, Pawn wants to try to make So1 pay.
And he doesn't have a turret to go back to either. Oh, that's an equalizer that goes down. We are going to peek towards a different side of the map. Ooh, fancy footwork here for So1, and they do get the heroic entrance. Love the Commando Galio as well. Looks extra cool when he comes down. He's going to save his top laner.
Flash down on the Gnar is something. This goes back and finishes the Frozen Mallet, so we'll start with just trying to boss around Smeb in a long lane, even if killing him will take a little bit too much time.
Mata has so much control of that river. It seems like it was his house, you know, and he's telling people to get off his lawn.
Well, his lawn does extend and roll into the Baron when it spawns into a minute 50, and I think that's why he's playing the Vision game as hard as he is. Because
blocking off the entrance to this outer turret as well, meaning that easy damage for Def to be able to gather.
Does KT have both Baron secure and also the Weaver's Wall and Equalizer combo that we saw demonstrated just a few minutes ago? So Baron buff is the terrain they want to force Jin Air to contest them on.
Not to mention double Leandri's Torment Blade of the Ruined King as well. So it's like, yes, secure, but just so much damage on top of it, and already completed now as well. Smeb was going to come up and actually help them out. Weaver's Wall. The surf towards the bottom side. So1 in a lot of trouble as he gets slowed down. They do get themselves a teleport, and Smeb's taking a lot of damage.
Oh, big
that shove.
seismic shove. Really big from Pawn. Smeb flashed anyway. Does mean they're able to get out alive.
Lumpty as well. He was making his way down there, so Smeb not wanting to get infinitely duressed upon.
Would love to see Infinite Duress actually affect an enemy champion
that would
at
be
some
good.
point this game. It is the Cinderhawk into Tiamat we spoke about.
Yeah.
May delay the Titanic Hydra quite far behind, otherwise he'll just kind of die in an instant.
Yeah, needs to start building some of this tankiness, especially against this composition. Interesting that he's gone for the armor first, with a heck of a lot of magic damage being on the table here for KT. Oh, okay, donated over to Teddy. Doesn't have a lot of mana right now, but just shows that they do want to be getting behind this Cogmore. Settle themselves into the late game. Yeah, this is real hard.
Again, it's all about Jin Air buying time. They have a lot of great options with this sort of a gold disadvantage at 50 minutes, but at 20 minutes, it represents all the core items to allow them to team fight. The job of Mata, keeping this rush completely clear, is still winning.
Well, we're looking for another grasping root so we can get him, but Void Rush is going to be enough. Score takes down Snowflower, and now Baron is an opportunity. Empty, half health. So1 looking to try and get his way amongst it, but Pawn's just playing catcher. And Mata has set himself off. He can block this whole area while they're taking down the Baron. Yep, Strangle Thorns. I mean, Omti, he's not going to be able to get anywhere near this pit, and Jin Air just have to walk away. The Baron is taken. 9 kills to 0, 3 turrets to 0, 2 dragons to 0, and now a Baron at exactly 20 minutes into the game. KT, I just feel like Jin Air had put everything into game number 2, and the tank was runneth a little bit dry, Papa Smithy.
I feel like you have to give KT more credit, though, because while that's a fair read, and like clearly that was an emotional toll on both teams, remember that if KT had lost this game, we would have said they were tilted by game 2 or they tilted by the telecom war. There's very easy catch narratives that are, you say it sounds catchy, and no one can really question you, because you can be like, well, I guess that makes sense, that follows. But KT, to me, doubled down on the early game, and Mata played the longest game possible. He spent 10 minutes playing a battle of this is my river. You cannot come here. I've got 2 control wards here. I'm going to block off. He did basically nothing else. He made 1 visit mid lane to throw out a Grasping Roots and continue to patrol the river. Solo river is usually one way to try to do dodgy things to champ select, but this was just actually his goal as bot lane.
Yeah, everyone's here to turn up. Jeanette do manage to even the odds as Smeb gets smashed against the wall, but he manages to pick up the Gnar beforehand. Umti's just burning to death as Pawn picks up the kill score. He's still alive. Stranglethorns just creates a dead zone for everyone on Jin. And Deft will transition this into easy turret damage with a massive minion wave.
Yeah, and Teddy can do nothing. He just has a pickaxe and 2 daggers on his way to the Ginsu Rageway with Baron buff. No one is going to be stopping these minions. The death timers are short, but not short enough to stop KT from breaking the base.
Yeah, Living Artillery, of course, magic damage. These buffed up melee creeps not taking any of it. So base broken, 22.5 minutes into the game. Inner turret going to be falling in the mid lane as well as the split push Rek'Sai still putting in work. That's going to be that. KT, safe as you like. No more perfect game, of course. Smeb, bit of a feeder, 100% of the deaths on his team, but you're not going to be complaining. KT in so much control. Back in their wheelhouse, like you were saying with this early game comp, and I like what you say about needing to give KT all of the credit for this victory as well, because it's been very controlled.
They've had to take their lumps. You know, they're a team that has been scrutinized in spring season, so much talk about early to mid game. With their recent results, again, looked at, but in this game, after losing in the fashion that they did, being able to say, well, let's go back to the old playbook, play it smartly. Mada especially have a vision masterclass around the river that was just so obvious. Of course, it was more pointed because Mada didn't need to do other things, so his lanes were winning. But they knew exactly what they wanted to do, executed on it, and so far haven't had the sort of facepalm moment that unfortunately KT have done at the 15 to 25 minute phase. And Jin Air, with a reactive draft, have been disseminated. It's one of the reasons why, when I looked at the Kog'Maw drafts from the LPL and when we saw them at the start of Rift Rivals, I was like, well, this wouldn't work in Korea because pushing lanes and lane priority is the most important thing. By the end, in a couple of best of ones, it did work. And then we've seen it work and not work throughout the course of today. And is that a function of how good a team is? Is that a function of best of ones or needing more of a sample size? Is it like Evelyn games where you're like, well, I see Evelyn, how do I beat her? And then eventually you remember, all right, wards and stuff. There are many different ways to understand what the meta will be going forward. We know we'll see more Kog'Maw, and I'm happy we're seeing these games because we're learning more about where the meta will shift. Will it be a Kog'Maw meta or not? After today, we're still not 100% sure.
Yeah, and it's about what you have to take away from these compositions in order to be able to break them apart, and what you need to pick up in order to answer all of that early game power. And of course, like Jin Air are going to try their very best to turtle this one out. Thankfully for KT, they've already broken open the base. It's only going to get worse from here as once again they're throwing down everything. KT, Kuzan in a lot of trouble, does use the flash, but Stranglethorns buys a lot of space. KT will just go back to the turret and take that one down. A lot of cooldowns now used. As KT just weave his wall up, his inhibitor turret, and it's all too easy. Bon, bit of a faker impression with that one. They are going to be able to open up this base completely.
So on doesn't have any Narbar, is exhausted at the moment. Engage is not possible because they're so far behind. It's 14,000 gold at 25 minutes. So much gold. Umti might just be cleaned up.
Yep, Ren not quite enough. Deft didn't get enough spears into him with that Hurricane, but still able to take down the second inhibitor of the game. Suffocating pressure. 15,000 gold the lead, 25.5 minutes into the game. Just, yeah, you can't say suffocating enough here for this particular game because KT, they have had vision everywhere. There's been no way that Jin Air could contest anything that wasn't on their side of the map at the early game, and then from now on they can't even enter their own jungle without fear of getting destroyed. And with the last item buy, I feel like KT are just going to be able to follow some super creeps into the base.
Waiting to see if we will see a Jin Air member go as far as the river for the rest of this game. First instinct is no, and it's been a long time since that's been fair game for Jin Air to push up to, just because of how much this game is being run by KT Rolster. We're one team fight away from the game ending, even with death time as being pretty comically short at this point in the game. Huge item spikes on multiple members. Baron spawns in a minute. It's a free Baron for KT if they want it. So I guess they might as well pick that up and then end the game with it.
Yeah, of course, the last remaining turret that they want to take down is conveniently on the top side of the map there as well, so moving over to that Baron pit's pretty easy. Quan has the Weaver's Wall to get himself over there if he wants to.
He's pushing up super minions to make it even more of an uncontestable objective in 45 seconds.
A lot of magic damage on the side of Jin Air as well. It's pretty hard to get rid of these super minions.
Ogmore having the extra hit.
Yeah, that's true.
On the Blade of the Ruin King helps out a lot. But definitely, like you say, going to be difficult. KT maybe screw the Baron, just try and finish the game, but the Unbreakable stops the strategy from being as clean.
Yeah, good denial. KT run out of minions. At least stymied in their push for the moment. Does feel like a matter of time though, especially if Jin Air stay clumped around this inhibitor turret. It's on Jin Air to start the fight, and it's the last thing that they want to do. This little items, I mean, the emergency chain vests are coming in. The Negatron cloak now for Umti building towards his Gargoyle stone plate.
Oh, Mata.
Yeah.
You know what he wants to do? He wants to do a wolf.
Oh.
He's so ready.
He is so ready.
This is what a Wombo looks like, Atlas.
Yeah, throws the vision over. Jin Air now know that he's at least hanging around, as the Baron is most certainly dead. Smeb, he's going to get them. The corral is completed as Mata can see them lining up for the Grasping Roots.
The threat of the Wombo was enough. They just couldn't walk up. They had to give away a free Baron. They push in, this time with Baron buff. We don't get to see the Wombo Bouncy Castle into lava combo, but maybe we'll see it before the game ends.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's an opportunity. Nice knock up there from Score as Mata flashes forward. Stranglethorns comes in, and they split the fight. It's going to be Tower falling down, and now Deft raining terror on the rest of Jin Air. That's going to be the Fate's call, and honestly, it feels like all she wrote for Jin Air. It was such a valiant effort in game number 2, but they're now just getting slaughtered. Deft picking up kill after kill. A Cathian surprise, not going to be able to get anything. And now the Nexus turrets are going to fall 29 minutes into the game, and the Nexus is going to go down. Game number 3, it was courageous for Jin Air in game 2, but KT silenced the critics in game 3.
Yeah, KT Rolster play an almost perfect game in game 3. The river was somewhere that Jin Air could not go after the early, and you never know how teams will react after playing an almost 60-minute game, having to come back from 3 inhibitors down twice, Jin Air. But the reaction, unfortunately, banning out Umti ended up being a valuable strategy, winning the 2v2 so hard in bot lane that Mata could just play solo river duty, putting down control ward after control ward. KT can be an early game team. We learned today they are also messing around with the idea of going back to old Deft strategies and playing purely around a hyper carry. The players on Jin Air are still young. Right now, they will be disappointed about the loss. But remember that the second tiebreaker in the LCK is game score. They do not go down 2-0. They do win a game against KT after winning 2 against Samsung Galaxy. And who's to say that they might go into something like the Gauntlet in 5th spot with the game score earned from their game 2 victory.
And they've shown that they have the resilience to be able to play that style of League of Legends as well, Papa Smithy. That 60-minute slugfest they're able to come out on top of KT Rolster in game number 2 will not be forgotten quickly. This Jin Air team has certainly made a lot of fans tonight. Swags on you there from Smeb that I missed when they were winning this game prior, but a lot of highlight plays for KT Rolster. An unfortunate 0% win rate in the entirety of the LCK's history for Warwick. But Umti was trying for something different, just didn't quite work out here in game 3.
Both teams' trajectories from here will be very interesting. Jin Air, heroic loss, taking a game off KT. We'll see how they go forward and develop, and if they can be a top 5 team, will be 6th spot after their loss in this game. KT Rolster do pick up a match victory they thought was ironed on after game 1 that was clawed back in game 2, but rightfully claimed in game 3. They were overall the better team on the day. They are able to pick up a match victory and start getting towards the top 3 spots again. They go ahead of Longzhu, I believe, with this victory. Still, it is a league. Still, there's so much going on. Amazing how much was invested in just a single best of 3, but that's what happens when we have a true war, and we got a war between Jin Air and KT to be proud of.
Yeah, and the mechanics about what happens with this victory are definitely a good thing. I mean, the definites, the guarantees, but it's what this series taught us that I think is most important. The fact that KT not looking like that tilt team. KT looking like a team that has this multifaceted playstyle, can play late, can play early. It's those learnings that are going to be so important. And then Jin Air, of course, on the other side of the rift, teaching us that as a young team, they can still play scrappy, late-game, high-pressure League of Legends like the best of them. Just a brilliant series. A little bit sad in the end for Jin Air fans, but I think I'd go away feeling like a happy man either way. And so will Smeb, who did a hell of a lot of damage in that game.
I mean, the one equalizer around the blue buff.
I feel like that did, if you were to see it tick up, did like 2/3 of that particular damage bar.
There was just no way to win the game after that. The game was decided by that equalizer. He'll earn the MVP from it as well. Jumps to 800s, though, on the hunt for his old teammate Kuro.
Yeah, just behind.
Getting up there. Smeb is a wonderful Rumble player. Him and Marin are very much the top 2 in the world, with Huni taking a bit of backseat recently. He joins BDD, and we have some excellent talent at the top. But the equalizer in this game were the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, teleport timing as well, working out fantastically. Of course, that was a bit of a gimme, that particular kill.
But this one was the one. Look at this.
That's the
Watch how many ticks they're standing in the equalizer. There's nothing they can do.
Teddy literally had nowhere to go.
Nope. And that was a pre-planned combo because Smeb had already started teleporting as the Weaver's Wall was being summoned by the Talia. So they fought around the terrain, and when you pick pushing lanes and you also get out of bot lane early enough to have complete control of the river, a team walks up, they've got no exit, and they have an equalizer in the perfect position. Even though he is the only one to die from KT, it was with the guarantee of a cleanup by the rest of his team.
Yeah, and that equalizer went down as he was dying. So no one even knew it was still killing them. So much damage out of Smeb. The rest of the team certainly need to be spoken about. Mata as well, with his incredible vision control that he's always had. He always buys way too many wards, but this game just took it by the balls, one could say.
I would never say something like that, Atlas.
You said it before.
I'm a very nice person. I don't say
you don't say
words.
square words? Not a square worder kind of guy? Yeah, I know.
And this is only the start of our week. We have some excellent match days that we'll get to.
I thought you were going to say, we've got some excellent swearing to get into.
I'm hoping I can stay away from that. I'm going to try and keep my nose clean after that one. But we've got some excellent games. We'll talk about that in a bit, though, as we've got a bit of talk time with KT Rolster.
Yeah, so let's throw it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your last interview translations of the day. While everyone probably would have wanted to see the Yasuo man himself, but we will get KT Rolster, who gets a 2-1 victory in the end. And we are here with the only MVP of the series. We have Smeb for the interview. Smeb, how do you feel?
이렇게 최근에 좀 1경기 이기고 2경기를 패했을 때 계속 졌었거든요.
I feel like recently, once we won game 1 and lost the game 2, we lost our focus and lost the game 3. But it was a really proud moment for our team to get the win in the game 3.
1경기는 조금 잘했다고 생각이 하는데
I feel like I played well in game 1, and along with my teammates also playing well for me.
제가 받은 것 같아요.
But I feel like that's kind of the reason why I received the MVPs today. And a lot of people were considering the fact that you guys haven't been back for a while, and with the recent flight back. Yeah, I think really right now with the recent flight back, I think we're feeling a lot tired, and each game is a struggle for us. We want to go with game 1 first. Is a Shen that is in the top lane, and you're undefeated on that right now. And it seems like Smeb, you're one of those people that really uses uses the Shen well. Yeah, actually you don't use Shen very much during solo queue and during scrims. But I feel like, our DPS players within our team were really performing really well. So all I had to be was really the support role in top lane. And we also got to experience the Nidalee pick from score.
예전부터 좀 준비를 했었는데
Yeah, it was a pick for a long time, and we wanted a good opportunity to show it, and we felt like today's game was the one to do it in. And we have a video highlight of where Smeb had many instances where he used the Shen properly. This is one of the plays. How did you feel about that team fight regarding the positioning?
이거는 거의 그냥 저희 팀의 딜은 코고모밖에 없거든요.
Yeah, if you see right here, the only DPS champion within our team is Kog'Maw, and the biggest goal we had, biggest objective we had was to protect Kog'Maw,
좀 위기를 느끼긴 했는데
and I felt like in the midst of this fight that we felt like we could have lost it if we weren't careful. But I feel like, you know, the skill shots went in properly. And really, one of the highlight of Game 1, I don't know if we have a video highlight prepared for that, but this is where it could have really went against KT's way, but the last few skill shots really saved it all.
나 부적이야 이러면서 했었는데
Yes, whatchamacallit, Pawn thought he was really invincible during this series of plays, so he went in fearlessly, but we realized that he wasn't invincible, and we at the later part of this team fight, we were really scared as to how this would turn out, but we were very fortunate with how this ended. And you did take the Game 1 victory, but Game 2 was the biggest surprise for all of us, seeing the Yasuo top. Yeah, I was actually really frustrated. Yeah, I was really frustrated at the fact that, you know, they picked out the Yasuo and really challenged that against me, and that just really provocated me to really pick out a fight with the Yasuo every time I had the chance. And a lot of people are studying the Yasuo as to which situations are the best situations for it, but what do you think about that champion? I'm not a biggest fan of Yasuo, and I don't enjoy picking it, and I don't think it's necessarily a good pick to go with in any situations, but I think with the players that are more adaptable to Yasuo, I think it's a viable pick for them. And you guys got the longest game of the season with the Yasuo. And it felt like it was going to be a never-ending story, going back and forth, and never really getting to the end. Weren't you really startled after you guys lost the inevitable Game 2? Yeah, I think most of our teammates were really hurt mentally and really struck at the fact that we lost the game that we thought we would never lose. But I think our coaches and the coaching staff did a really good job of holding our mentality in. And it seems like the anger really provoked out in Game 3 as you guys really dominated in the way you guys progressed through the early game all the way to the pretty easy win that you guys showed. And Kalista is one of those things that we want to talk about as well. Yeah, I think one of our strengths of our team is the early laning phase. And we try to pick out various picks in forming our composition, and Kalista was one of those things that we thought about it, and we thought that, you know, our early game will pay off in getting the Kalista big enough that we can get the win in our way. And we want to talk about how Shen was an undefeated peak for Smeb, but also this Rumble, you only have one loss on this entire season. And we have a video highlight of example of why that is so. And do you kind of see this equalizer opportunities come for you? Yeah, I think this is a situation where the opponent really gave me a good opportunity to put down the equalizer right there. And it seems like you're racking up the MVP points, and it seems like you seem more comfortable with each MVP point you get. And it seems like Smeb is here for the solo MVP a couple of times this season. Do you kind of really prioritize the MVP points while you play the game?
사실 오늘은 그렇게 생각을 안 하고
Today, I wasn't really worried about anything. I was really worried about just winning and getting the win for our team. That was the biggest priority, obviously, but I try not to worry about it. But I think, and what do you regard Score today in his performance that he showed? Because all of the things that he did was really spectacular.
네, 스코 선수가 좀 못 받는 게 저는 조금
Yeah, I feel it's a little bit disappointing that Score couldn't get the MVPs. And Score is one of those guys that really takes care of us all the time, even outside the games. I'm sure you still are happy with getting the MVP. Would you like to say one thing to the fans out there?
너무 열심히 이렇게 잘하고 있고
I want to talk to my teammates first. That I want to congratulate them on always doing so well. So we want to become the best. So let's get at it, guys.
그리고 사실 또 오늘 저는 1박 2일 경기를 거의 왔죠. 예상을 했는데
I felt like we were gonna reach 12 a.m. with the long series today, but we were just a little bit short of it. And you still have a lot of fans here watching you guys, even through this late hour. Missing out on public transportation, they have to resort to taxi. But would you like to say anything to these fans here?
이렇게 늦게까지 또 이렇게
We really thank you for staying out this late to cheer for us, and the strength that you give us really allows us to play much better. So I hope you guys get home safely and go to work and then the next morning properly. We thank you very much. And that seems to be the end of the interview. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. So nice hearing about Daddy Score taking care of all of the players. And yeah, there are still a whole bunch of people still here. And they're going to be joining us, attempting to try and find a cab in order to get home.
That's right. They do have the inside track, though, Atlas, unless they're staying for some sort of post-match meet and greet. Very, very long series, but largely buoyed by what was the longest game of the summer season, 6 seconds short of the hour between Jin Air and KT Rolster, 99.9% of the way there. But a game no one will ever forget, the base defense from Jin Air in that one. End result, though, is that Jin Air find themselves at a completely nil game score. They are not more wins than losses. They are the same. Afrika Freaks at 5th, and KT Rolster jump up to 4th. Not much in it between KT and Longzhu. Not much in it between the top 4 teams.
Yeah, and it would have been a completely even situation, I believe, based on head-to-head even with Longzhu versus KT, if it had have been a 2-0 for the squad. So that game 2, even more important than you'd otherwise think, is tomorrow. It's going to be BBQ Olivers versus Longzhu, and then SK Telecom versus Samsung. Game number 2 is going to be huge. Papa and I will be back on the desk once again to bring you that, and whoa, I'm ready.
I mean, SK Telecom and Samsung, the 2 teams that have got the most criticism after Rift Rivals.
Yeah.
Only one of them can show their fans a victory. Argument was they were hiding strategies. We're not to know that, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. Will Blank be playing? But on Saturday, the good games don't stop, as Jin Air will want to get back on the horse and beat BBQ Olivers in Series 1. And then we get the meeting of Marin and Faker. Afrika Freaks versus SK Telecom. Always a highlight.
Always will be. And no one knows what to expect. I have a feeling it will go to 3 games, though, because I don't see SKT losing, and I also don't see Afrika Freaks losing game 1. So exciting stuff. And then over at the Gangnam Stadium, it will be MVP versus Rox, and then KT versus Ever8 to round out week 6 of the LCK. So definitely some spicy matchups coming up this week. We've already had 2 days of some pretty sweet League of Legends. We've had the longest game so far for LCK, just ludicrous stuff. I really need to go to bed, Smithy.
You do.
But thankfully I did manage to get at least 3 hours on the plane earlier on, which means we were able to stay up and actually get through what was an incredibly fun series.
Well,
of League
you held it together, mate, so you can feel good about that. You can go to bed. You've earned it. But guess what? We're going to start this off very early again tomorrow. Yeah. Some sick games, like you say. I'm really excited to see if SKT or Samsung were hiding strategies.
Yeah.
Will Blank be playing? Because I was surprised not to see Blank at Rift Rivals. Untara didn't even go over. A lot of what-ifs about Series 2. You guys got to catch it.
Yeah, and are we going to be having any more question marks about Blank or Peanut, things like that? Is it going to be Huni Peanut coming out and trying to get it? We'll find out tomorrow.